Good morning, students. In last class, we have discussed about the properties, periodic properties of d block elements, that is, atomic size, ionization energy, electron affinity, and stability of variable oxidation states. And you have come across how to know the stable oxidation state, all those things in last class. Today we are going to discuss properties, remaining properties. Among them, the first one is that magnetic behavior. If you take the substances, there are a number of substances available in nature. Based on the magnetic behavior, these substances are classified into two types: magnetic, non-magnetic substances. Magnetic substances means what? Any substance which is attracted by magnet, that is known as magnetic substance. Which do not attract by the magnet is known as non-magnetic substance. This you have come across in lower classes. Now the classification is slightly modified. Here the substances that are attracted by magnetic field are called paramagnetic substances. This phenomena is called paramagnetism. The paramagnetic property is the only shown with the substances which contain when the one or more unpaired electrons, which contain one or more number of electrons. When a substance acquires a paramagnetic moment, it is known as ferromagnetic, and this phenomena is known as ferromagnetism. The substances shows diamagnetism when it contains only paired electrons. Most of the transition elements show paramagnetic behavior. The unpaired electrons in n-1 d orbitals are responsible for the magnetic properties. The paramagnetic character of transition metals increases on moving from left to right as the number of unpaired electron increases from 1 to 5. The middle elements are found to possess maximum paramagnetic property. The magnetic properties decreases with decrease in number of unpaired electrons. The transition metals which contain paired electrons depict diamagnetic behavior. Explanation for magnetic property. As you know, an electron is a charged particle which is negatively charged, which continuously revolves around the nucleus and spins on its own axis. A magnetic field is generated due to the orbital motion and spin of the electron. The spinning of an electron is an orbit is very much similar to flow of electric current in a closed circuit. Therefore, an electron is regarded as a micromagnet which has a definite magnetic moment. A substance which contains unpaired electrons when placed in magnetic field interacts with applied field. Consequently, an attractive force is exerted and paramagnetic property is shown. The number of unpaired electrons determines the magnetic moment. Higher the number of unpaired electrons, more is the magnetic moment and greater will be the paramagnetic behavior of the substance. The formula used to calculate the magnetic moment of these elements, spin only magnetic moment based on and spin and orbital magnetic moment is taken. Spin only magnetic moment is that yes, it is measured in Bohr magnetons. Mu is equal to under root n into n plus 2. N into n plus 2. So here n is the number of unpaired electrons. Taking into account number of unpaired electrons, we can calculate the magnetic moment of transition metal atom or ion. Here you can see the table. The ionic transition metal ions are given in their ionic state. The number of unpaired electrons you can see in titanium plus 3. It has one unpaired electron. When you calculate Bohr magnetic value, it is under n into n plus 2 equation. You will get root 3. Root 3 is nothing but it's falling between the 1.6 to 1.7. You can take vanadium plus 3. It has 8 electrons here, so you will get that 2.7 to 2.9. Chromium 3 plus 3, it has 3 unpaired electrons, it's ranging from 3.7 to 3.9. Chromium plus 2, it has 2 unpaired electrons ranging from 3.2 to 3.3. Manganese and iron, you are finding that 5.6 and 6.1. Iron Fe plus 2, you are finding 5.1 to 5.7. Cobalt plus 2, you are finding 4.3 to 5.2. Nickel, you are finding 2.9 to 3.3. Copper plus 2, 1.7 to 2.2. All these electrons are calculated in octahedral shape. So here number of unpaired electrons which depends upon the ligands which are approaching to the metal ion. When metal ions ligands are approaching to the metal ion through the axis or in between the axis. So when they approach, these d orbitals are splitting into T2g and Eg orbitals. When the strong ligand is approaching to that, the unpaired electrons are pairing off, then number of unpaired electrons will be less. So low number of unpaired electrons means low spin, so then magnetic moment value will be less. When strong ligand is approaching to the metal ion, pairing of unpaired electrons is taking place. So this is in case of octahedral complexes. You can see. Now come to in tetrahedral complexes. You can see in chromium 5, 1.7 to 1.8. In chromium plus 4 and manganese 5, 2.6 to 2.8. In iron 5, 3.6 to 3.7, manganese 2, 5.9 to 6.2, ferrous also 5.3 to 5.5, cobalt 4.2 to 4.8, nickel 3.7 to 4. So what I mean to say here, the unpaired electrons which are present due to ligands, the pairing will be taking place under ground state. If you look at that, here you can take that scandium plus 3. Example you can take in scandium plus 3. The resultant electronic configuration is that 3d0 s0. So it has number of unpaired electrons are 0. The resulting magnetic moment is 0. Titanium plus 3. The resultant electronic configuration is that D1 S0. So it has one unpaired electron. When you calculated Bohr magnetic values, the equation mu is equal to under root n into n plus 2 equation. You will forget that 1.75 Bohr magnetic values. Vanadium plus 3. There are 2 electrons in the d orbital, 0 electrons in s orbital. Vanadium plus 3 has 2 unpaired electrons. Vanadium plus 3 has 2 unpaired electrons. So its resultant magnetic is that 2.75. Chromium plus 3. In chromium plus 3, s orbital has no electrons, d orbital has 3 electrons. Total number of unpaired electrons are 3. Its magnetic moment is that 3.8. Manganese plus 2, Mn plus 2. It has d orbital 5 electrons, s orbital 0 electrons. The total number of unpaired electrons are 5. Its Bohr magnetic value 5.96. Vanadium plus 2. It has 0 electrons in s orbital. There are 3 electrons in d orbital. Unpaired electrons are 3. Its Bohr magnetic value 3.85. Chromium plus 2. It has no electrons in s orbital, 4 unpaired electrons in d orbital. Bohr magnetic value 4.8. Now come to Fe plus 2 and Fe plus 3. In Fe plus 2, there are 6 electrons in d orbital. So then it has the 5.1 Bohr magnetic value. In Fe plus 3, there are 5 unpaired electrons. It has the Bohr magnetic value 5.85. Come to copper plus 2. Copper plus 2 has one unpaired electron. It has the Bohr magnetic value 1.95. Copper plus 1. It has 3d10 electronic configuration. S orbital has no electrons. Its Bohr magnetic value is 0. In the same way, Zn plus 2. It has 3d10 4s0 electronic configuration. Its Bohr magnetic value is 0 because of no unpaired electrons. Come to cobalt 7, cobalt plus 2. It has 4s0, 3d7. There are 3 unpaired electrons. The Bohr magnetic value ranging from 4.4 to 5.2. Last one is that nickel. You can see that nickel plus 2, 4s0, 3d8. It has the 2 unpaired electrons. So which will be 2.93 to 4. This is regarding the number of unpaired electrons in each transition metal ion and calculation of that. Now we can see that in d orbital 1 electron, example titanium plus 3 can take in d orbital 2 unpaired electrons. We can take the example vanadium plus 3 in d orbital 3 unpaired electrons. We can take example chromium plus 3 vanadium plus 2 in d orbital 4 unpaired electrons. You can take example Mn plus 3 and Cr plus 2. In d orbital 5 electrons, you can take example Fe plus 3 Mn plus 2. In d orbital 6 electrons, you can take cobalt plus 3 Fe plus 2. In d orbital 7 electrons, cobalt plus 2. In d orbital 8 electrons, nickel plus 2. In d orbital 9 electrons, copper plus 2. If you observe, up to manganese, as the unpaired number of electrons are increasing, the Bohr magnetic value is also increasing. As you know, transition metal ions are colored. The formation of color property can be explained based on the electronic configuration in atoms and ionic state. These transition metals and their compounds show color. The color is due to the excitation of electrons from 1d atomic orbital to higher energy d atomic orbital in the same subshell. The frequency of the light observed generally lies in the visible region. The color observed due to the color of the complementary light. The color is due to the presence of unpaired electrons. All zinc ion compounds are white because there is no unpaired electron. So which means transition metal ions which have unpaired electrons, and when they are undergoing excitation, the excitation energy is falling in between the normal light wavelength, that is 400 to 700 nanometers, then these ions shows the color. If it's falling, if though they have the unpaired electrons, if the energy or wavelength is falling below and beyond the 400 to 700 nanometers, their electrons can undergo excitation but do not show any color. Which means to say that the excitation energy is in between the 4 to 700, then they can show the color. Interstitial compounds. Transition metals have lattice structure in which the unoccupied space is called void or hole or interstices. Transition metals trap smaller atoms. They are highly electronegative elements. Example, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen in these interstices, and results in the formation of interstitial compounds. So interstitial compounds have high melting point and hardness. Due to this, tensile strength is increasing, but malleability and ductility decreases. And retain metallic conductivity. The interstitial compounds are chemically inert. Examples for interstitial compound: titanium carbide, steel, cast iron, etc. Next, alloys formation. An alloy is a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals, or a metal and non-metal. So it is a solid solution of constituent metals in one another. An alloy can be obtained by melting together the constituent metals and then cooling the resultant liquid. Alloys are harder than respective metals and have higher melting points, stronger than pure metals. They are less corrosive than pure metals. Alloys have lesser conductivity as compared to the parent metal. This property is made use of in manufacturing of resistance wires of electrical heaters. How the formation of alloys. Transition metals are miscible with each other in the molten state and called cooling the mixture of molten metals and alloys are results. How it is possible? The transition metals have almost similar size. Therefore, atoms of one metal can easily take up position in the crystal lattice of the other consequently. Transition metals can form a number of alloys. Example for transition metal alloys, you can take ferrous alloys, chromium alloys, vanadium alloys, tungsten alloys, manganese alloys are used for production of variety of steels and stainless steel, etc. A number of transition metals and their compounds are known to catalyze various reactions of industrial importance. In case of catalysis involving solids, bonds would be formed between the molecules of the reactants and the surface of the atoms of the catalyst. In first transition series of elements are used in bonding in addition to 4s electrons. The concentration of the reactant at the catalyst surface increases, the bonds of the reactant molecule weaken because of the decrease in the activation energy. When the reaction takes place between the reactant molecules at lower activation energy. When once the reaction is complete, the product deabsorbed from the surface of the catalyst, giving space for the adsorption of reactant molecules. The catalytic activity of transition metal ions could be explained by their variable oxidation states. For example, iron 3 ion catalyze the reaction between the iodide and persulfate ion. You can see the equation. Two iodide ions are combining with persulfate ion in the presence of Fe plus 3 ferric ion and giving the iodine plus sulfate ion. This can be explained based on the catalytic reaction or change in oxidation number. Here, ferric ion is acting as a catalyst. In the first stage, ferric ion which reacting with iodide ion and ferric ion changes to ferrous ion where iodide ion is reduced oxidized to iodine. So here transfer of electrons are taking place between the iodide ion to ferric ion. Now ferric ion changed to ferrous ion. Next in the next stage This ferrous ion, which is taking the electron from for sulfate ion. Here the ferrous ion which is giving the electron to the for sulfate ion and undergoing oxidation, again it is converting into Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3. Here for sulfate ion is changing to the sulfate ion, which means here electron transportation is taking place through ferrous ion. It gains electron from iodide ion and then transfer to the sulfate ion. Again, ferric ion is changing to ferrous ion. Finally, it is reproducing in the form of ferric ion only. So, one more example you can take vanadium pentoxide as a catalyst in the manufacturing of sulfuric acid by contact process. In this, vanadium pentoxide is the first converted into vanadium 4 oxides. Here you can see the reaction. Here sulfur dioxide first reacting with vanadium pentoxide and giving the product sulfur trioxide plus V2O4. If you observe the oxidation state in vanadium pentoxide is +5 state, which is changing to +4 state, which means it is reduced, which we gain the 1 electron. Sulfur dioxide is changing to sulfur trioxide. Now in the second stage, what is happening? Sulfur trioxide, vanadium tetroxide, which is in +4 oxidation state, plus oxygen, giving that VOSO4, vandyl sulfate. Vandyl sulfate. So this vandyl sulfate, which is dissociating to give vanadium pentoxide, sulfur trioxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, sulfur dioxide. Now sulfur dioxide again combining with vanadium pentoxide in the presence of oxygen, giving sulfur trioxide, sulfur dioxide, vanadium pentoxide. So these are the steps are taking place during the catalyst activity of vanadium pentoxide manufacturing of sulfuric acid in contact process. If you write overall net reaction summing the all steps, you will find that 2SO2 plus O2 gives rise to SO3 in the presence of V2O5. V2O5. These are the two examples how the catalytic activity is taking place in case of transition metal ions. So there is a change in their oxidation number. They are acting like a carriers, receiving the electrons and going to transferring the electrons to others. In this way, the catalytic property is taking place. Some of the important catalytic activities of transition elements. First one, titanium tetrachloride is also known as Ziegler-Natta catalyst, is using in production of polyethylene. Manganese dioxide acts as a catalyst in the decomposition of potassium chlorate. Iron is used as a catalyst in the manufacturing of ammonia by Haber-Bosch process. Ferric chloride FeCl3 is used as a catalyst in the production of carbon tetrachloride from carbon disulfide and chlorine. Cupric chloride is used as a catalyst in the production of chlorine by Decon's process. Nickel is used as a catalyst in the hydrogenation of oils, and platinum is used as a catalyst manufacturing of nitric acid from ammonia in Ostwald process. Ostwald process. These are the few examples about catalytic property of transition metals, particularly 3D series. In next class, we are going to discuss remaining properties. Thank you.